Everyone knows that Eeloo is the outermost planet in Kerbal Space Program. That is, of course, unless you install the hugely popular Outer Planets mod, which expands the outer edges of the solar system to bring it more in line with our real solar system, adding Kerbalized versions of Saturn, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto, as well as many of their moons, some being so distant that it takes decades to get there. This mod is hugely requested in my comments, and there are so many places I could go that I put it to a poll, and you guys voted for Plock, the outermost planet in the Outer Planets mod, and the in-game equivalent of Pluto. So it represents quite a challenge, as it's a very, very long way away, and thus we will require a ship with plenty of Delta V, as well as power sources that don't rely on solar energy, because we're so far away from the sun that solar panels are basically useless, and a means of safely transporting Kerbals for such a long period of time. So here we are in the vehicle assembly building constructing said craft. Actually, I'm beginning with the craft's lander, which will descend from Plock orbit down to its surface, carrying all 4 OG Kerbals, so Jeb, Bill, Bob and Val, as well as a sizable science rover that can carry 2 Kerbals, and I'm really pleased with how the deployment mechanism for this came out. It is kind of hard to follow, possibly, in the time-lapse, but when I deploy it later on in the mission, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. This lander has a fairly high Delta V number for what it needs to do, actually, and this is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I actually went in completely blind with this. I used a Delta V map to know how much fuel would be needed to land on Plock, but other than that, what you're going to see in this video is my very first attempt at reaching it, and my very first time seeing it, which, if you stay tuned, did end up causing a bit of a headache when it transpired that one of my other mods was messing with my Outer Planets install. More on that later. But yes, the other reason the lander has quite a bit of range is because Plock has a moon of its own, Charon, and so I gotta go and land the lander on that too. Still way more Delta V than required, but I like to err on the side of caution when it comes to planetary landers. So, all I knew when building this thing was that Plock is now the 10th planet from the Sun in the Kerbal system, and its extreme distance from Kerbin and its inclined orbit around the Sun makes it a challenging destination to reach. The Copernicus wiki says, and I quote here, "Missions to it are difficult, with a large amount of Delta V being required to reach it and round-trip times often exceeding 100 years. The feeble sunlight reduces solar power output to barely 0.04% of Kerbin's at apoapsis, rendering solar panels functionally useless." And right there, I saw a challenge. I wanted to make the round trip in under 100 years, which I don't know is even a big challenge, to be honest, but I'm not going to look it up and just assume that it is. One thing I mentioned in my intro was that I needed to make sure the craft I used would be able to safely and comfortably transport its crew of 4 Kerbals for the immensely long journey, which, you know, isn't really a challenge in KSP, since Kerbals will happily sit at a single-seat tin can for multiple centuries without issue, but I wanted to make this vehicle somewhat reasonably realistic. So, in addition to the 2 command pods, I also added a large laboratory module, a 4-seat crew module, and connected the lander to the aft section of the lab in such a way that its interior can serve as an extension to the main spacecraft when docked. But still, kinda pokey quarters for a crew of 4, and so I used the power of stickers to make it better. I added a custom flag to the 4-seat crew module, denoting it as a cryogenic stasis chamber. So the canon of this vehicle is that when the craft is cruising through deep space, its crew will board the cryostasis chamber module and be comfortably kept in stasis for the decades-long cruises between burns. And I really like how the rocket came out, actually. I mean, the lower part of the rocket is just a big, dumb first stage that isn't really worth talking about. But I really liked how the upper part that had all the crew modules on it, how that came out, especially how the lander kind of integrated in a non-Apollo style configuration, which I've got into a bad habit of using all the time lately. And I also really like kind of the ring of liquid fuel tanks that power the nuclear engines. The nuclear engines are shielded by a fairing piece, as well as all the parts above the liquid fuel tanks, but the liquid fuel tanks themselves are exposed. It kind of looks like a Saturn 1B, which of course was comprised of a bunch of redstone tanks in a circle. I really like kind of the unique aesthetic. I think it came out really nice. I'll probably end up using this design in future rockets. But here we are in the tracking station. As you can see, we've got Joule, which normally would be almost the furthermost object in the Kerbal system. But now, look how far it expands. Like, there's Plock, the brown ring right at the edge. And look how far we have to zoom in to see Kerbin again. It's really well, I guess it's really, really far away, but I guess we already knew that was the challenge. Now, there's no transfer window like diagrams online that I could see in a cursory 5-second Google search, and so I'm actually going to have to do things properly when it comes to time warping to a transfer window. I'm using the mod Kerbal Alarm Clock. I haven't used this in a long time, and I think I'm doing this correctly. We're setting our transfer parent as the sun, our origin as Kerbin, obviously, and our target as Plock, and there we are. And it's got a 1-minute margin, and then all we have to do is press Add Alarm, and hey presto, look at that. We have to time warp 19 days, 1 hour and 14 minutes, and then we should be at an optimal Plock transfer window. I don't know if that's correct. I've literally never played this mod before, but that's what Kerbal Alarm Clock said would be the optimal Kerbin to Plock transfer window. So I've got to like draw a line from Kerbin to the sun to Plock because I don't know, but there you go. You can see that's now kind of done there. So there's the rocket on the pad. Yeah, I'm super pumped to finally explore the Outer Planets mod in KSP. It's been a long time coming. So yeah, I cycled home as fast as I could from work today, fired up KSP and got ready to hit the VAB. Yeah, that's a real sentence that someone would say. But while we're on the subject of me cycling home from work, after cycling to work 9 hours earlier, I want to take a quick moment of your time to talk about AG1, who have sponsored today's video, because honestly, this stuff has become a super simple part of my morning routine, especially since I cycle to work every day. And after years of development and 4 clinical trials, I'm excited to say that AG1 Next Gen is now available, featuring upgraded probiotics and added vitamins and minerals for an even better formula. Many of you know YouTube isn't my full-time job. My real job requires me to arrive at 7:30 in the morning, which means I'm always up early getting ready to ride, and since I like my sleep, I'm usually not left with a lot of time to mess around with a bunch of pills or complicated health stuff first thing. AG1 makes it easy. 1 scoop, water, shake it up, and hey, it's done. And I like knowing I've actually done something good for my body before I've even hit the road. I've been drinking AG1 for a few weeks now, and I've noticed I feel way more steady energy-wise throughout the day, something very welcome, as I've also been trying to cut out coffee and energy drinks lately, and I'm having no crashes, jittery coffee vibes, just I'm a bit more on it, you know? AG1 is packed with a blend of vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and whole food sourced nutrients. I've also been feeling a lot better digestion-wise, which isn't something I really expected to care about, but here we are. So if you've been thinking about building a healthier routine without overcomplicating things, this is honestly the easiest change I've made this year, and one that I've actually stuck with. You can get started with AG1 for less than $3 a day when you subscribe. Just hit the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen. You'll also get $76 worth of free stuff with your first order, including 5 travel packs, a shaker, a metal canister, and a bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2. That's everything you need to start strong. Big thanks to AG1 for sponsoring this video, and for giving my mornings a little upgrade. And so, our journey to Plock begins. And yes, it's going to be a very long journey, as the kind of beginning of this video has kind of illustrated. And of course, this has unfortunately resulted in this video being very long, although a lot of people say they do like the longer videos of mine. So hopefully this is good. How long is the runtime now? I think it's like at 40 minutes, give about, near about. So yeah, it's going to be a long old trip. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy the ride as we punch through the clouds. Jebediah, Bill Kerman, and Bob Kerman, you can't see it, but Valentina Kerman is also on board, looking down at the ground, not knowing when they'll be back again, if their families will even still be there. They will be. Kerbals are immortal as far as I can tell, but yeah, still a big journey for them. It's going to be a long time. Like I say, the KSP Wiki estimated 100 years or more. Hopefully it won't be that long, but I don't know. I was scared I was going into this mission blind. Here we are, staging. Boom, and then firing up the 4 skipper engines of the rocket's second stage. We've got a great view of those little tanks in that ring that I mentioned earlier. They kind of give a Saturn 1B kind of vibe. I think it came out quite nicely. I usually design kind of big interplanetary rockets like this with like lots of individual Mark 1 size fuel tanks, and I think this has come out really nicely actually. So I'm probably going to do this again for the foreseeable future until I get bored of this aesthetic and try something else. But I think it looks pretty nice. We're not going to completely circularize with our second stage in order to avoid Kessler syndrome. We're going to stage it just before we reach circular orbit, so that the second stage cruises back down to Kerbin and is destroyed in the atmosphere. Our apoapsis is about to hit the border of space. There we are. We are now comfortably on a suborbital trajectory. Obviously, we need to make sure that ends up being orbital by the time we, I was going to say by the time we circularize, but the circularizing is what makes it not suborbital. So whatever. It's a great time to be faltering already with 30 minutes of commentating left to go. But there we are. We have staged the fairing, another fairing, and then I thought about leaving this kind of metal fairing on for a bit longer, but actually kind of looks a bit more visually interesting if we have that lander on display as well. I did say earlier that solar panels are functionally useless as far away from the sun as Plock, but I added 4 what are they called? The Gigantor solar panels? The biggest solar panels in stock KSP anyway. I added 4 of those, just kind of give a bit of a visual flair to the rocket. And, you know, we're not going to spend the entire mission close to Plock. We're going to, a lot of that time is going to be spent traveling to and from Plock. So we'll be entering regions of space where solar panels are useful, but like I say, they are going to be pretty useless when we're in Plock orbit. So this thing is kitted out with RTGs, both on the lander and on the mothership, so that it can kind of remain powered. I mean, the RTGs in KSP are really, really powerful. They provide lots of energy for the size they are. Like, I don't know if it would be particularly realistic for a rocket of this size in real life to be powered by just 2 RTGs. But here we are. Oh yeah, I guess there's 3 RTGs technically, because the rover has an RTG on board as well. So first things first, we're going to plan our maneuver that's going to get us to Plock. Now, a lot of people might choose to do gravity assists for this, but I chose the brutal approach. What's the word I'm looking for here? The brute force approach. That's it. I kind of forgot English for a second. And by brute force, I mean just one big burn from Kerbin orbit that's just going to get us all the way to an encounter with Plock. Actually, that's not true. We're going to do 2 burns in Kerbin orbit to make the most of the O-berth effect. By burning as close to Kerbin as possible, we're a bit more efficient, basically. So we're going to do 1 burn that's going to get us almost to the edge of Kerbin's sphere of influence, but not quite. Then we'll swing around and do a 2nd burn that's going to get our apoapsis around the sun all the way to Plock's height. However, we're not going to get an intercept with Plock just yet, because Plock, as I said earlier, it's on this really awkward inclined orbit around the sun, so we're going to have to do some sort of mid-course correction burn to change our inclination to match Plock's. But there we are, we have completed the first of our 2 escape burns in Kerbin orbit, so now we're going to plot our 2nd maneuver node that's going to get us, like I say, it's going to get us all the way to the kind of height around the sun as Plock, but obviously we're not going to get the Plock encounter just from this 1 burn. But yeah, I guess now I've kind of explained everything I'm going to be doing for the next rest of the video. I'm going to be kind of a bit stuck in terms of what to talk about, so I might not talk about anything happening directly on the screen for a little bit, but I guess this is probably a good opportunity to ask you guys, you know, is this something you wanted? Is this a good video idea going to Plock? And should I do any more Outer Planets mod showcases? So like go to like Sarnus and what are they called? Sarnus is Saturn, there's Eeloo, which is Uranus, and Lowne, I think, is Neptune. It's like kind of like you could just look at the name, you can figure out that's meant to be the analog of the real life one. But yeah, maybe I should do that, or do like a Sarnus 5, like a Joule 5, but Sarnus. I don't know what the moons of Sarnus are like, if they're really, really difficult, so I may end up coming to regret that sentence. I know, is it Tecto? There's a bicycle brake company called Tektro or Tecto, and there's a planet, or moon in this game I should say, that's called Tecto or Tektro, and now I just get the 2 mixed up. But I've heard that that's kind of one of the more desirable places to visit, because I just quickly searched on YouTube Outer Planets mod missions, and that was kind of the place everyone seemed to be going, so maybe I'll go there. I don't know, but I felt like, this would be a good intro. Let's just go to the outermost planet of the Outer Planets mod to, because I feel like this is kind of a challenge, right? Because it's not really got a big gravity well to make encounters easy, and again, it's on this big inclined orbit, and of course, Oh, okay, it has the moon Charon, but Charon's gravity is so low, we can't do like a Tylo-style gravity assist to swing into orbit free of charge, so to speak. So, yeah, I felt like this would be a good little challenge to start off Outer Planets on this channel. But I am aware that Outer Planets mod is really old. I think it's like 8 years old, I think, or even older than that. So it's kind of dated as far as planet mods go. What I think is crazy as well, like 8 years ago, when was that? That was like 2017? Wow, that's just aged me quite a bit. But it was only like 2015 that we even knew what Pluto looked like for the first time. You know, New Horizons? Before New Horizons, the only photos we had of Pluto were like these really blurry black and white blobs of pixels. Like, no one really knew what it looked like. And I still think that's crazy. This planet that's like, well, I guess it's not even a planet anymore, is it? But what was traditionally considered one of the 9 planets of the solar system, we didn't know what it looked like until it had literally lost its planetary status, which I think is crazy. And then this mod came out literally only like just after knowing what Pluto, just after humanity found out what Pluto really looked like, which is, it's kind of crazy. I've been alive too long, I think. I've witnessed now too many kind of momentous moments in my life, you know. I turned 30 last year, so now I just feel like I just feel like the breath of a dormouse fluttering through the breeze on a summer field. I don't know. I'm not good with poetic metaphors. But yes, I mean, obviously KSP officially released in 2015, but I guess it came out in like, what, 2013, I think, was the first build. Presumably it was in development before then. So there's probably a mod out there made before KSP's full release, so before 2015, that added Pluto to the game, and the mod maker would have had to just guess what Pluto looked like. That could be a potentially interesting video idea, provided such a mod exists. By the way, I got my Plock encounter. How good was that? And yeah, like, that's actually kind of a deep thing to think about, isn't it? Does anyone know? Can you write a comment below if you have made a mod or know of a mod that came out before 2015 that added a Pluto analog in the game? Well, I guess Eeloo, right? When was Eeloo added to KSP? Because technically, I know Plock is the Eeloo analog the Pluto analog in the Outer Planets mod, but in stock KSP, Eeloo is the analog of Pluto. I've just now opened up the Kerbal Space Program wiki. When was it added? Because I know Eeloo was like the last one to be added, right? It was added in 0.18.2, which came out in December 2012. So I was wrong, KSP was available before 2013. But yeah, wow. So 2012. So that's 3 years before we knew what Pluto ended up looking like. So I don't know, you guys know what Pluto looks like and know what Eeloo looks like. Do you think they did a pretty good job? I think they did a remarkably good job, because they had to just guess. I mean, it was like Eeloo is white and brown, and Pluto is white and brown. So there you are. I mean, Pluto is a much prettier planet than Eeloo. Of course, has a lovely heart on its side. But yeah, isn't that just an interesting thing to think about? Anyway, I've successfully managed to just waffle about random topics for the entirety of our journey to the Plock system. And here we go. Entering its sphere of influence. There we are. And this is where things went... Things ran a little bit amok, so to speak. So I said earlier in this video that this was genuinely my very first time visiting Plock, or indeed any mod in the, any celestial body in the Outer Planets mod. And there was a bit of an issue. Right now, you can see Plock, I hope, nicely on the screen. If you're just listening to me whilst doing something with a second monitor, then come on, pay attention. Look at the screen. Okay. You can see it at the moment. We're going to now start our capture burn, which, as you can see, is fairly sizable because our periapsis around the sun is very low. We've got to raise it. And oh, look at that! Plock, it appears, has disappeared from the game window, but not from the map screen. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is just a weird glitch. I'll restart KSP in a second and this will just fix itself. But that isn't what happened. So, well, I'll just let the footage play out again. So time warped up, and as you can see, Plock reappeared when I got far away, and it's disappeared now that we're close. So I could be wrong about this, but I believe the way KSP planets work is there's kind of a planet texture from when you're far away from the planet, and then a separate texture that loads when you're close to the planet. And the texture from when we're far away from the planet, which includes the view we get on the map screen, has worked well, but the texture for like being close to the planet hasn't really worked. Although it popped in for a second there, didn't it? But we can sort of see a faint invisible like outline there. So clearly something's loaded. So I quickly cheated the craft. Well, I made a quick save so we could just revert back before I started using cheats, right? I just teleported to another celestial body in the Outer Planets mod. I just chose Ovok at random. And as you can see, using hyperedit to slowly lower ourselves towards it, the same glitch happened. So this isn't exclusive to Plock. And thus began a 2-hour ordeal for me, guys. I have loads and loads of mods installed, and clearly one of them was messing with Outer Planets, and I could not figure out which one. I messaged Lynx, who's a pro with Copernicus, which is kind of the mod that all planet mods use to, work. I was like, have you ever encountered this before? What mod is causing this issue? And he said he didn't know. So then I had to basically delete mods from my game data folder one by one. Well, first of all, I uninstalled every mod I had except Outer Planets and all its dependencies and loaded the game, and then it worked. I was like, oh, right, okay, so clearly it's one of my mods that's messing with it, but which one? And I have like 30 mods installed, would you believe? So literally I just deleted like all of them and then gradually added them back in like groups of 5, loaded up KSP, loaded up this save file, and just to see if Plock would appear. And it literally took 1 hour and 40 minutes. It took ages because obviously KSP's loads really slowly anyway, and when you have mods installed it runs even slower. I eventually got down to I added one group of 5 and that suddenly made Plock break again. So I took that group of 5 mods and gradually added them back in one at a time until I found the mod that broke it. And the mod that broke it was Shabby. So there you are. If you have this glitch of mine where Plock disappears, then for me at least, it was Shabby that caused it. So I couldn't even remember what Shabby was. I did message Lynx again in case, like, look, if you're like troubleshooting a Copernicus issue or someone else mentions this, then this is why. It seems to be Shabby. And he just said, yeah, it is. It's a requirement for deferred rendering as it allows certain shaders to be replaced. Deferred needs to replace the vanilla terrain shaders, and it probably doesn't work for the shaders of Outer Planets mod because the Outer Planets mod is very, very old. So there you are. So unfortunately, we haven't got deferred rendering running anymore, which of course improves the graphics of KSP. But I feel like that's a good compromise because, we can now see the planet that we of course have now landed on. So running all of our science there. So yeah, like I say, one of the downsides and one of the reasons why Plock didn't really load properly there is because Outer Planets mod is very, very old. I made a big song and dance earlier, didn't I, about the fact that it was kind of released not long after we actually found out what this planet looks like in real life. So, yeah, I mean, it might be nice to do more Outer Planets mod videos in the future. Maybe to Tektro or Tekto, whatever it's called, because like I said, that seems to be the fan favorite location. But I feel like maybe more modern star systems might be better because they're more up to date, and frankly, Outer Planets mod has sort of been done at this point. Like everyone knows of it. Might be nice to showcase kind of star system mods that not many people know about. And the ground, I mean, Lynx's Parallax Continued mod has really spoiled me for, the surfaces of planets and moons. This just looks like a very old stock KSP planet, just, very flat and boring terrain. I am aware that someone, not Lynx, but someone made, a Parallax Continued pack for Outer Planets. But when I tried installing it, it caused Copernicus to just completely wet the bed and die. So, clearly, I've been told that patch does work, so clearly one of my other mods is messing with that, and I was just so jaded from trying to figure out that Shabby was causing the Outer Planets mod to stop working. I didn't want to then go through and another 2 hours of troubleshooting what's causing Parallax Outer Planets pack to not work. So this is what we're getting with, but I'm making the most of our landing. I'm setting up a little small science station on the surface. Of course, the rover will be staying here as well. Oh, did you guys I made a big show about the fact that, the rover's got a really cool deployment sequence when I was building it in the vehicle assembly building, and I just completely didn't talk about it whilst it was happening. But I hope you guys enjoyed the satisfying deployment of the rover. In retrospect, it's very wide and very short. It's probably not the greatest rover design. However, I had to fit it into that service bay, which is a circle, so you end up with kind of a square rover. So maybe there's a lesson to be learned here. I need to make it a bit more narrow, although I wanted space on its surface for 2 Kerbals to be able to sit side by side, so it did kind of need to be kind of wide anyway because Kerbals have massive heads. But yeah, here we are. We've deployed all our little deployable science. Bob Kerman now. Just going to smash a banana. Excellent stuff. And yeah, that's the beginnings of our surface antics. Of course, we still do some very important things, including planting our flag, which I'm going to hand over to our crack pilot, Jebediah Kerman. He's got a little glide down just here. Bob Kerman doesn't have a jetpack because he needed to carry all the science from the top of the rover down to the surface, and the jetpack means the jetpack is too heavy for Kerbal to carry anything else. So that's a good thing I added those ladders there, so that the lander could be traversed without the need of an EVA jetpack. I keep calling it a jetpack. I know it's not really a jetpack. You guys know what I mean, right? It's RCS pack. Anyway, there's Jeb planting the flag there. Boom. And there we are. So I guess now the flag hath been planted. Give it a little site name, I guess. We can go ahead and get our other Kerbals out on EVA. So Valentina and this is Bill Kerman, I believe, or is this Bob and I'm just repositioning him? So we can get a nice little group Instagram. Follow me at Lowne. I post literally once every 3 months on Instagram. The last post I made was very offensive to a lot of people. I tried a Gonster, which is like a cocktail someone made on TikTok, which sounded disgusting. I had to try it out of morbid curiosity. It's basically half Guinness, half Monster Nitro, and I was like, that sounds disgusting. But everyone keeps raving about it, so maybe it's worth something. I tried it, and it was like not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Maybe it's kind of nice. I don't know. I've never really felt compelled to try it ever again. But you know, that was my latest Instagram post. That was ages ago. Haven't made that drink again since. So there we are. Anyway, we're going to take Bob Kerman and Valentina Kerman now on a little drive around the admittedly rather barren surface of Plock. Oh, I was like, I really hope that rock has collision so I can stop this thing. And it did. So great. I think that's from the community scatterer. There's a mod dependency that comes with the Battle Planets mod that adds the scatter there. I wanted to see if it was scannable with the scanning arm. Then I remembered that actually this mod predates the Breaking Ground DLC, which is when that scanning arm was added, so we wouldn't be able to scan it. I mean, this rover really, all of the science on this mission is purely for show, which is a good thing because we just crashed into one of the RTGs there. There was all kind of a show, just like, you know, to inspire you if you're trying to play this game, doing the air quotes thing properly. We're actually going to go out on missions with the objective to get science. This is a way you can, you know, pack the science into a rover and a lander. It's always nice trying to work with the challenges, or the constraints I should say, of stock KSP, trying to come up with kind of unique landing designs, unique rover deployment systems using just the stock parts, and this is a pretty good little design I'm quite proud of. And yeah, now we're getting Bob Kerman back on board. We can re-equip him with his EVA pack and his parachute. Not that he needs his parachute, but I like having the peace of mind of the Kerbals having their parachutes just in case something happens on Kerman re-entry, where, like, for example, I forgot to pack the parachutes, or physics time warp does something weird and destroys them, or they just get destroyed anyway, or something like that. It's just nice that the Kerbals can bail out of the craft and parachute down themselves if needs be. So there we are. We've completed our surface excursion on the surface of Plock. Now it's time to head back to orbit. In terms of Delta V, Plock takes just slightly less than the Mun of Kerbin, obviously, but more than something like, say, Minmus or Ike or something. I'm trying to think. I think it's probably kind of close to Val. Just like looking to the left now at my like little homemade chart I have of all the Delta V numbers for taking off from things. It's I actually got my dressing gown hanging up on my wall and it's covering half the thing. I guess, yeah, the Mun is probably the closest thing in terms of Delta V count. It's less than Eeloo, more than the Mun. There you go. That's how you get to Plock. Informative. These, I like to think these are tutorials, you know, these missions. I give just the vaguest possible advice. Anyway, here we are getting our encounter. As you can see, I kind of messed up when it came to circularizing around Plock. We're actually orbiting Plock in the opposite direction that it spins, which means that ascending from its surface is going to be more inefficient. But honestly, as I mentioned all the way back in the ancient times of the beginning of this video, we have more Delta V than we really need, because I wasn't really sure how much I would need for maneuvering around the Plock Karen system, and if I'd encounter any weird issues with terrain or have to do a little hop to land somewhere else. So that's why I brought extra Delta V. And my intention was that I would keep the lander attached to the mothership for the journey back to Kerbin, so that the Kerbals have more like livable space, kind of keep things realistic. But I did know that if needs be, we can just drop the lander and save a bunch of weight and therefore gain a bit of extra Delta V for the journey back if we needed it. Luckily, didn't need to do that. The lander could remain attached for the entirety of the journey back to Kerbin, including re-entry. I kind of really messed up when it came to re-entry at Kerbin and nearly almost killed the crew, so you got that to look forward to, guys. Got to get that viewer retention up and all that. Shall I Shall I do a little, oh, there he is. My little like and subscribe please thing just there. I totally didn't plagiarize from Tech Dweeb. Yeah, I kind of like my little like and subscribe thing. I think it's a bit nice in the kind of cold pre-custom like downloadable like comment subscribe thing that everyone just downloads from a green screen. So I kind of like my little custom one. And I don't know if anyone notices this, but I kind of like the fact that I usually have 2. I realize I've now done 3 because I'm being super meta right now, right? But I always do one when I'm like in the vehicle assembly building or on the ground, and then the little mascot doesn't have the space helmet on. And then the second one that happens, I'm in space, and so he's wearing a space helmet. There's a little, if that's not worthy of a little, of a little like, comment, and subscribe, then I frankly don't know what is. Anyway, we're going to move on, quite literally, because we are making a move on from Plock. This is terrible. Moving from Plock orbit to Charon orbit. I actually have no idea what the delta V numbers for Charon are. When I was, to be honest, this is how great I am at researching things. I didn't even realize Plock had a moon until like I was like in the final stages of planning this mission. I was like, oh, there's a moon around Plock. And I was like, well, it's probably got relatively low surface gravity, right? Because Plock is basically the same as the Mun. And if there's a moon orbiting it, then that's going to have tiny surface gravity. So I just kind of assumed I would have enough to land. And I did, so don't worry. But yeah, look at our orbit speed, 205.9 meters per second. So incredibly low orbital velocity, which means this thing has low surface gravity. So now we're going to undock the lander once again and prepare to head down to the surface. We've got 829 meters per second of delta V remaining, which is plenty. In terms of where to land on the surface, I was kind of looking around for anything interesting. And I thought, hey, that big, the Eye of Charon is now what I'm calling this crater. Sorry if you created this mod and called this something else. This is now called the Eye of Charon. Sorry, everyone. I mean, looking at the Kerbal Engineer readouts at the top, the biome is technically the Sochun region. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, this is now the Eye of Charon. So if you own this mod, I'd very much appreciate it if you could change the coding so that I can have some influence over this near decade-old mod. But yeah, I mentioned this earlier. Are there any other planetary mods or solar system mods that you guys would like to see? I wonder if there's like a mod, and I feel like if there isn't, this is like very, very much open for grabs. A mod that basically adds the what's it called? The BEPCO system? Whatever the second star system was going to be in Kerbal Space Program 2. Just put that in, because we've got loads of footage of those planets and moons and stuff. Obviously, you have to take some creative liberties, but yeah. I guess kind of that's one of the things I dislike the most about stock KSP is that it's kind of like there was so much. There's like just a couple more planets, guys. Like there was literally for the longest time. I actually have no idea if this is just like a rumor or a creepypasta type thing, but there was going to be another gas giant added called the planet Harvest, named after Harvester, the creator of Kerbal Space Program, but that never happened. But I feel like. Is this like a Mandela effect I'm having? I'm pretty sure there was going to be a gas giant called Harvest in this game in addition to Joule, and then that never ended up transpiring. But yeah, interestingly enough, by the way, guys, Eeloo, I think, was planned to be either a moon of Harvest or a moon of Joule and ended up just being a planet in its own right. And in Outer Planets mod, it's changed to being a planet... Ooh, I think it's a planet of Sarnus. Yeah, no, I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% certain. So I went a bit Sean Connery for a second. I'm 100% certain that it's a planet of Uranus, which of course is the analog of Saturn, which looks really, really nice. I'm very happy with it. Sometimes I occasionally see KSP videos suggest. Well, I get funnily enough, guys, when I'm on YouTube, I get KSP videos suggested to me from time to time. It's almost like YouTube knows I do a lot of Oh, this is kind of funny. I was burning to orbit, not sure why the encounter nodes weren't appearing for our target vessel until I realized I didn't have it selected as our target. And when I did that, I realized I'd completely overcooked our pro-grade burn. So yeah, had I had it selected as my target, this would have been great. I would have got the encounter less than 2 kilometers straight away. I thought it was already set as my target because the orbital line of the mothership was yellow. And that usually denotes that you have it set as your target. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but whatever. As I said, Charon has really, really low gravity. Although that being said, I have only got 63 meters per second remaining, and it's going down. I didn't even know at the time. I recorded this yesterday, and I wasn't even paying attention to my fuel levels of the lander at this point. Oh my gosh, that's right down to the bone, isn't it? 21 meters per second. Literally, this is brilliant quality, isn't it? I had no idea it was this tight. Leave a like. That's probably the closest I've ever done in terms of like lander Delta V, except for maybe, I don't know, Eve ascent vehicles, where every single second of Delta V every single meter per second of Delta V counts for Eve landers. But yeah, look at that. Although it's 21 meters per second remaining, of course, not all of that is for the Poodle engine. A lot of that, well, some of that Delta V will come from our monopropellant resources, which I'm currently using because I was struggling to get the two craft to dock, but there we are. We have docked successfully, and therefore we've completed all of our kind of missions on Plock and Karen. So first of all, we're going to get Valentina to do an EVA to take the data from the lander and transfer it to the mothership, or the command module, I guess. The module that's going to land on Kerbin and thus can be recovered and will gain all the science points. And yeah, that's it. That's kind of one of the things I miss about KSP2. I mean, for this mission, the thing I missed most about KSP2 was the loading times, because literally you open that game, it opens in like a second. There are basically no loading screens. Well, there are loading screens. They're very, very minimal, and they're very, very quick compared to KSP1. That's probably the number one thing I miss about KSP2, to be honest. I remember playing it for the very first time in the Amsterdam trip, and I was like, wow, it just opens immediately. That's brilliant. But the other thing I miss about KSP2 is the way it handled science. Like, I've got to transfer science between different modules. Like, when you earn science on a mission, that's it. You've earned the science. Yes, you still have to return the craft, but the game will know, look, you got the craft back, or you got one of the Kerbals back. You know, you did it. Well done. Whereas KSP1 is a bit more clunky in that regard. That is admittedly where the positives for KSP2 start to run a bit thin, but, you know, it had its moments in terms of quality of life changes. So Kerbin is now so far away, it's really hard to select in the map screen. I have to basically target them. I mean, look how expansive the solar system looks. Then we have to zoom all the way out, and it's tiny by comparison. So anyway, Kerbin is so far away from us, we can basically guarantee an encounter from somewhere as high as Plock. We can just do... We'll basically do a prograde burn backwards along Plock's orbit around the sun to get our kind of orbit to intersect Kerbin's orbit. From there, we can literally just use the radial in, radial out, and prograde and retrograde markers. I accidentally clicked the alarm clock thing here to force a Kerbin encounter. I really wasn't sure at this point if I would be able to survive re-entry because we're coming in so fast. I just prayed that the very overpowered ablative heat shields in KSP would kind of overpower their way through the insane speed of Kerbin re-entry from such high altitude. I didn't know we've got plenty of delta remaining. We could do gravity assists to slow ourselves down, even just a burn, like a retrograde burn around Kerbin to slow our orbit down, then doing another pass. But I kind of just hoped for a nice easy time, you know, after all that time messing around, figuring out which mods went wrong. I kind of just wanted to get home, you know. How many years has it been? And also, yeah, I forgot. I set out with a challenge of doing this in under 100 years. And we're on pretty good track so far. We're at 38 years, 401 days so far. So, but yeah, but doing a gravity assist like Joule or one of the new outer planets would have significantly increased the time we're spending on this mission. So yeah, I remember I started a bit of a tangent, then went off on a big rant about I don't know what. But yeah, I mentioned earlier that yeah, I got a lot of KSP videos suggested on my feed on YouTube, and one of them was like a new planet pack, and I can't for the life of me remember this video. I did try and search this up so I could link it, but there's this guy who's no problem with the YouTube, by the way. He was great, very charismatic, 10 out of 10, whoever you were. I wish I'd saved the video so I could give you a shout out. But yeah, he was showcasing this new planet pack, and everyone was like, wow, this planet pack looks really good. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, there's so much potential in this planet pack, but every single planet was red. He was like going through like, this is the outermost planet. I was like, it's like a brownish, rusty red. Then he went on to a bright red planet, and then another red planet. It's like, this is the solar system's gas giant. And it was red. I'm like, not every planet needs to be red. Like, that's one of the things I like about the outer planets mod. You know, we've got the icy Eeloo, the bright purple Neptune equivalent, and obviously Uranus looks like Saturn, but more orange, I guess. I kind of like a colourful planet pack. So yeah, I don't think I even finished the showcase video of whatever this planet pack was, because I just said, like, this is ridiculous. Everything is red or rusty brown. Like, come on, guys. We could be a bit more creative than this. Maybe it was going for a certain thing. Like, maybe that was the whole point. All the planets are made of rust or something. But I just feel like from a gameplay variety perspective, kind of boring. So, are any wacky systems out there? I mean, one thing that's kind of like maybe ripe for the picking is I have already done videos that showcase planet packs, but not directly. And those would be in my 2 KSP films that I've done that do this. So Green Harvest and Into the Warp both feature planet packs. Both of them I believe were made by Gameslings, although the one in Into the Warp interestingly is not available for download. Like, some of the planets were modified specifically for that video. namely the Warpstone planet. Had giant warp stones floating above its oceans, which aren't actually there in the normal version of that mod. Links just kindly added those for me. So anyway, oh my goodness, we're nearly at the end of the video. I've been on so many random tangents along this mission. So we were coming in very fast, although just for re-entry, I'm going to do a retrograde burn and just bleed off all of our remaining fuel. So we're coming in as slow as possible, so we have the best possible chance of slowing down enough that we will capture a Kerbin orbit and, not just fly back out of the atmosphere and into deep space. But in doing so, I forgot to really pay attention to our altitude gauge and realized I'd actually carried on burning as we entered the atmosphere. So then I quickly spammed the spacebar to quickly stage away and make sure our Kerbins were all, got away safely. And look at that! The overpoweredness of the ablative heat shield in Kerbal Space Program knows no bounds. We have used less than half of it coming in from the equivalent of Pluto. Granted, we did slow down quite a bit using the nuclear engines just before re-entry, so we did come in slightly slower, but still. And this is not a criticism. I love it. It's really annoying having to do when I do hyper efficient SSTO missions, which mean I don't have a heat shield, having to do loads of gravity assists to get back to Kerbin. I've done the hard bit, now I'm just having to play around with maneuvers and gravity assists to slow ourselves down, when really I just want to re-enter. I also just want to thank all the names of people on the right hand side of my screen there, my patrons, who, your support is really, really much appreciated. Also, again, to today's sponsor, AG1, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Do check out that link in the description and the pinned comment. But that is it, guys, for my first foray into the Outer Planets mod. Where should I go next? What should I try next? It's up to you. Let me know down below. And of course, big thanks if you made it this far into the video. That's the end. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.